It's our mental capabilities which separate us from animals, and nothing affects our mental capabilities as much as education does. For long, foreign education has remained a dream and aspiration for Indians. But how do we avail it? What are the different aspects of it? How is the economics of foreign education? To discuss the same with us, today we have got Mr. Vineet Gupta, who is founder of Jamboree. And Jamboree is the leading player in foreign education market in India. So, welcome, sir. Welcome to the show. So, incidentally, for the first time, I am having my college senior on the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Ankit. Pleasure.
Sir, to start with, very basic question. As an Indian student, why should I go for foreign education? What are the benefits associated with foreign education?
So the first, Ankit, is that especially for master's programs, I think the quality of master's programs abroad, whether it's the US or United Kingdom or other countries, the quality is far higher. So that's a big reason. India, of course, has very bright students. We have a very young population, and many of them then aspire, whether you take in artificial intelligence, data science, biological sciences, robotics, these are in the technology domain, but even otherwise, you take international relations, public policy. In the master's category, I believe India still doesn't have many quality programs. And the kind of programs that exist elsewhere and outside, especially US, are quite outstanding. So first is quality. If you really want to get a higher level of education, you really want to become a world citizen, compete with the best in the world, then I feel at the masters, some of our best students are then going abroad to take up a master's degree. At the undergraduate level also, I believe India still has some good quality institutions, but they are few.
IITs,
And IITs are there, NITs are there, many are there, but they are still few in quality. And there, I think we have a large population, so people who can afford to go, they go there. But at the masters, literally, you have, if you're a bright student, really want to, you often don't find great programs here, so it almost seems that you have no choice. So quality is a big issue. The second, of course, is that when you are going abroad, it's not just for education. It's also to have a better career prospect. It's also for economic reasons. And if you see the diaspora, Indian diaspora is one of the most powerful in the world today. You pick up top technology companies, whether Google, Microsoft, Adobe, the CEOs are Indian. So you are also going there for a better life, a better career prospect, for better economic opportunity. So it's very linked to economic opportunity. And when students pick a university, then they are often also concerned, will I get the right job? Can I stay back? And the third reason is that you, of course, develop confidence, you get cultural immersion, so you become a world citizen.
Global citizen.
Yes.
So, sir, as you mentioned about global CEOs, etc., so I can make it out that typically the global CEO is somebody who has taken graduation from here and then he went for MS and then he got job over there.
That would be that would be the general profile.
Yes.
However, having said that, there are some now increasingly large number of Indians are also going for undergraduate.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you will find that in times to come, we are a 30-year-old company, until about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, out of our total portfolio, undergrad was only 10%.
Okay.
And 90% was masters. Now our undergrad is almost 25% and masters. So undergrad numbers are also growing.
And what are the reasons for the same?
The reasons are, Ankit, India, we have almost 400 million people in this age group of 10 to 12. 400 million, it's as much as the population of the United States. But if you ask me whether we have good quality colleges to educate all of them, we don't.
Correct.
So with the same kind of marks, the college you will get in India and the college you will get abroad, the quality will be hugely different.
So we can say that competition
in India
is
easier, and the capacity is large. US
yes.
4,000 universities, so they have built large infrastructures. India will still take another 30-40 years. So you can get much better quality of education, not only if you are bright, but even if you are mediocre.
Okay.
So, and if parents can afford to pay, those students are going abroad.
And sir, So when it comes to quality education in India, the biggest impediment is entrance exam. So if you can take us, what are the entrance exams if I want to pursue foreign education for graduates, postgraduates?
Yes. So study abroad, if you look at it, firstly they are looking at English proficiency.
Okay.
Now because the courses are in English, so worldwide, and there are two exams: TOEFL, which is test of English as a foreign language, and IELTS. And there are of course many new exams which have come, PTE, Duolingo, etc. So the English proficiency exam is mandatory. So every college, whether it's in the US, UK, Canada, they will ask for an English proficiency test. Then for management education, if you want to go for MBA, there is a test called the GMAT. Now even GRE is accepted, but predominantly the exam for management education has been GMAT. So whether you're going to the US to a Harvard or a Wharton or a Stanford, or you're going to London Business School or INSEAD in France, or colleges in Singapore and US NTS or Australia, this is the uniform exam that is accepted, and you get a score out of 805 now. So that is one exam for management studies. For generally for graduate studies to the United States, whether you're going for technology, for engineering, for economics, for literature, there's an exam called the GRE.
Okay.
So that exam is required. At the undergraduate level, if you're going right after class 12, then again US universities require an exam called the SAT. And then there are other exams. If you have studied medicine and you want to go for postgrad, you take the USMLE. For law, you take LSAT. For medicine in UK, you take the MCAT. But I think those are some of the
Niche exams.
Niche exams.
So general are GMAT, GRE and TOEFL.
GRE, GMAT at the postgrad level. TOEFL is required by everybody, and undergrad there is SAT.
Okay. And sir, typically in India, for at least for undergraduate, you're either checked on your 12th marks or you get an entrance exam, and after that it's counseling. Counseling as in you apply and you get the seat.
Right.
How is it in foreign education? Means after giving exam, what is the procedure?
So US and world over, you can look at admissions are dependent on four things. Admissions firstly are more holistic. They are not dependent just on your entrance exam. They are holistic. So broadly you can take four buckets. First is entrance exam, your score on the entrance test. The second bucket is your academic bucket. If you are applying for postgrad, then your marks in your graduation,
Okay.
they will be very important. And if you are applying for undergraduate, then your marks in 10th, 11th, 12th class, they become very important. So the second bucket is the academic bucket. The third bucket, what I will call, is generally your profile. If you are applying for management education, it can be your work experience, your extracurricular activities. If you are applying for technology courses, it could be your internships, it could be whether you have done some kind of research work. So at the undergraduate level, again, it becomes your hobbies, whether some people are great at sport, some people are great at music, some people could have a very strong extracurricular interest. And if you have a spike in any of those areas, then even with slightly lower marks, universities will be very willing to accept you, right?
Okay.
The top ones will still need a certain category of marks, but your profile also counts hugely in your application. And the fourth thing, lastly, what will count is the quality of your application. All of these institutions, all of these universities have very elaborate application forms. Typically forms in India, very simple, capturing data, but there they will have personal essays, they will have statements of purpose, they will ask for recommendations from your teachers, from people who've supervised you. So the application can be quite comprehensive. And you may have done extremely well on the tests and have great marks, but if you mess up your application, you're not going to get an admission.
And that's where handholding by players like Jamboree comes into picture.
Absolutely. So students have to work on their tests, and they have to work on their profile, and of course on their applications.
And so one is you said ki you need to give an entrance, and there is a then holistic process about your profile, about your SOP, etc. What is the financial aspects of foreign education? Means typically what is the expenses? I know it's a very open-ended question,
Yes.
because it will vary across geographies, across universities. But still, if you can give us some range, even if it's broad.
So, as you said, the range is very wide.
Yes.
In the United States, the cost So the general range will be about 10 lakhs to 70 lakhs per year,
Okay.
right? Some of the European universities in Singapore, they are at the 10, 15, 20, 25 lakh segment.
Okay.
And then the Canadian schools, Canadian universities, Australian are more in this range of 20 to 40, 45. The UK universities and US tend to be at the higher end of the spectrum, and they can range from again 20, 25 right up to 60, 70. The topmost in the world, the top universities can go as high as 65, 70. But on the cost question, let me now clarify. Sometimes this cost barrier is in our mind.
Okay.
Let me give you the example of management education, which all of us are familiar with. You are also an MBA from India's premier institute. Today, the cost of doing an MBA from one of the IIMs, which is a top institution, or ISB, which is again Indian School of Business, is the top rank. The cost ranges anything between 20, 25 lakhs to 50. It's not small money.
Yes. Very true.
Right? 20, 25 to 50 lakhs is the amount of money you will spend if you want to do an MBA from a premier Indian institution. We also send students to these ISB accepts GMAT. Everybody, 90% of people who are going here are taking a loan.
Correct.
Because very few families can pay. And then of course, because you get a great job and you get good career, you are able to pay back that loan. Now in most of Europe and in Singapore, you can do an MBA at the same price.
Is it?
Yes. Singapore universities or Western Europe, maybe 10% higher. But the degree is not that different. So in a 25 to 70 lakh range, you can do. US is going to be costlier, UK is going to be costlier, but lots of universities in the Netherlands, in France, in Ireland, in Singapore, you can do an MBA pretty much at the same price.
And
right?
over there you will earn
and
in
then
euro.
you will earn in dollars.
Yes.
And you will be able to pay back far quicker. So I think sometimes this notion that a foreign education is costly is more in our head than based on research. Now let's come to master's degrees. You want to do a master's in AI or a master's in data science. Now there is no comparison point. What are we going to compare? You want to go to a Stanford or a Cornell or a Carnegie Mellon to do, what degree are we going to compare that with? In MBA at least we have these brands.
Generalization.
Right? So and that's what I was saying, we don't even, there's one program from IIT Madras, there's one from IIT Kharagpur. Maybe these are the 2-3 programs I can think of. There's nothing else. So there is not even a reference point.
Correct.
So we may say, okay, it's costly, but then what do we compare that with? Right?
So like we discussed in the first question, so this is another point ki you get some new courses also there.
Absolutely.
Which are yet to even come to India.
Which are yet to come to India. And which Indian universities, I still feel right now have made a great name at the undergraduate level. The IIMs have made a great name in the MBAs. But at the master's level, and I mean, I'm an alumnus of IIT Delhi, but I can say the MTech programs in IIT Delhi still have to make a name, right? So in the master's level, we still have lots of work to be done. So there is actually no reference point.
Correct. And so when we look at geography, so probably America is one cluster, then Europe is another cluster, then Canada and Australia. And fifth one, which is more like run of the mill, which is CIS countries. So how do you classify them on the basis of quality, on the basis of job opportunities, economics, etc.?
So I'll change a little bit what you said. The 4 big countries are US, UK, Australia and Canada. But now we find, Ankit, a big destination is Western Europe.
Okay.
France, Germany, Netherlands, Ireland. So a lot of European countries are becoming very, very attractive destinations simply because till 10-15 years ago, many of them were not offering courses in English. But now they are.
Okay.
People were not going to France or Germany because the courses were in their own languages. But that's changing. I mean, the French president was here and he said there are 10,000 students coming to France now from India. We want to take that to 30,000, right? So they have become attractive also lately because they are more economical. In Western Europe, the education has been more in the public domain. So that is the 5th category. Other than these 4 countries, this is emerging as a big one. Another country which has is emerged strongly is Singapore. Singapore, again, the universities are now in the top 15. NUS and TU are ranked 11 and 12. The only challenge being Singapore is very small, so capacity is very little. So
Very
not many people can go. But I would think these 6 broadly, and along with Singapore, I'll probably add Hong Kong also. So
Okay.
Singapore, Hong Kong here, Europe, and the 4 countries that you named. These are the, so firstly, that's largely the landscape of education abroad today. Now, to your second question, in terms of quality, how do we sort of assess? And there's a lot of data here. There are world rankings. I feel from India now today, if you want to go for a management education MBA, the world is quite open. Students are going to US, London Business School, INSEAD. So every country has some great ranked schools, NES, NUS, NTU here, etc. So the world is quite flexible, and Indians are pretty much going everywhere. They're going
And
to Canada.
क्योंकि MBA काफ़ी जनरल सी डिग्री है तो एवरीवेयर इट विल बी रिक्वायर्ड.
It
सो इन
will be-
एवरी इकोनॉमी यू नीड MBAs to
Every
lead
degree,
business.
every now. So that's one. So the best students are going everywhere. When it comes to masters in technology courses, artificial intelligence, data science, robotics, electrical engineering, computer science, biological sciences, then I find our best talent is going to the US. Simply because, and it's not that bright students are not going elsewhere. So they are going to UK.
But first preference.
The first preference is US, simply because you pick up any ranking, out of top 100, 50 universities will be US. Georgia Tech, Carnegie Mellon, Cornell, UC Berkeley. There's a long list, number one. Number two, lots of scholarships. US is perhaps the one country out of all of the other countries, especially at the master's level, they do want to, that's been their policy, they do want to attract the best talent. So the scholarships offered are the highest, so that's a big reason. And then third, employment prospects. $30 trillion economy, whereas other economies, and it's been growing. You take the top 10 companies, 6 or 7, Amazon, Apple, the Magnificent Seven, what is called, they're all based in the US. So the kind of jobs you get, the kind of career prospects you have is far greater. So technology wise, I would think that. Business wise, it's sort of open. Students are going everywhere, let me put it like that. And undergraduate also, I find the world is again very flexible. People are going to UK, to Canada, to Europe, to US. But again, the Ivy Leagues, the Harvard, Cornell, etc. do attract some of. So I would think US in terms of quality is still right there, right at the top. Indians are very fond of UK universities, so many of our students go there. And there are some Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, Warwick, great institutions there. Not as big as US and not as vibrant an economy. And then of course Canada has great institutions, Australia has. But if you see the concentration of high quality, that is more in the US.
Okay. And so when it comes to US universities, when we watch a lot of Hollywood movies, so they show कि a lot of defense research, a lot of industry research was done in US universities. So is it that legacy which is still playing around, in the sense that they are still very strong in research, and probably that's why MTech and MS courses are popular over there?
Absolutely, of course. See, worldwide in universities, research has been funded more by the government.
Yes.
And US is spending 3% of its GDP on research, 3% of 30 trillion. India, by the way, is spending 0.5%.
0.5%.
And China is now more than 2%.
And if I'm not wrong, that percentage is going down for India as a percentage
Well,
of
it's
GDP.
not
Yes.
grown as much as we would like. So the industry, the philanthropy may be willing to fund institutions, industry to some extent, research also. But even today in the top US universities, 70% of research funding is coming from the government, whether it's DARPA, the defense, or it's health sciences. So, the internet was invented as a result of research from defense. So they continue, and and they fund government institutions, they fund private institutions. So that is really driven the research ecosystem. And before that, by the way, World War in Germany was like that. Some of the
Yes.
greatest innovation came out of German universities. So definitely research is driven by government funding, and US universities continue to lead and dominate. Other countries, some of them are doing well. Particular individual institutions are also doing well, but again, as a concentration, you find that some of the best innovation, and that which is translated into companies. You can see, I took these 5-6 names. All of them have come out from the United States.
Yeah, so Facebook was born in a university hostel only.
Absolutely.
Sir, so we discussed about foreign education, we discussed about job opportunities in foreign. So if I am in India, I want to just have a foreign education and want to come back. So what are the aspects, what are the opportunities available for to me?
See, now that's a good point you bring up, Ankit, because we find as a percentage more students are coming back now than they used to come back earlier.
Okay.
And that I feel is a direct correlation with the growth in the Indian economy. We are in the top 5, and many top companies of the world and Indian companies now are doing extremely well. So many people who had gone abroad do come back if they find, people do have this desire to come back home if they find the same kind of opportunity. So
Some may have personal reasons also.
personal reasons, and I find that US universities or universities abroad are enjoy great reputation in India. So students, when they come back, they may not get extra advantage compared to top Indian institutions, but they are almost treated comparable to top Indian institutions. But let me add, if you come back after working abroad for a few years, then you really get a jump up, because then your work experience abroad is truly valued. So
Then on your resume you can say you have global experience also.
absolutely. So I advise students that if you are going abroad, try at least to work for 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years, because that, and then if you want to come back, then that will really give you a jump up in your career.
Vineet sir, a typical Indian mentality is कि education means job, education means earning. But education should ideally mean making better human beings, maybe having better sportsmen, etc. also. And now a lot of my learnings come from movies only. So in social network they show कि those there were students who were trained for Olympics at university itself.
Correct.
So my question to you is कि apart from education, apart from job, apart from economics, what are the other good aspects about foreign education?
So as you correctly said, universities there focus a lot on first performing arts. Some of the best music schools, theatre schools, if you see, students from these universities perform at the international stage. Sports, you mentioned, amazing opportunities in sports. They say if Stanford was a country, it would be 7th in the Olympics.
My goodness.
Yes, they get some 13 or 14 golds,
and it's in so contrast to how we think in India.
Yes.
So like in India we say कि पढ़ोगे लिखोगे तो बनोगे खराब. So we think that education and sports are mutually exclusive.
right.
In fact, if you look at our universities also, there will be good universities for education and there will be universities for sports only.
Right. So I particularly feel in the creative arts, performing arts, in sport, in very experiential related fields, international relations, for example, they give you
Okay.
great exposure if you want to work across countries. Very project based learning, right? Very hands on. Indian institutions tend to be extremely theoretical, so in project based learning, foreign education really qualifies. Immersion programs, cultural immersion, exchange programs. You studying in one university but you go for 3 months, 6 months. That's started to happen in India also, but not so much at such a big scale as it's happening abroad. So in many of those dimensions, I think universities abroad have progressed quite a bit.
So we can say cross cultural learning, your education, your more job aspects, and having a better lifestyle supposedly.
Yes,
These are some of the benefits that come with foreign education.
absolutely. You don't know where you could be.
Yes.
Many of the CEOs we hear of, whether Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai, pretty much came from
middle class.
middle
only.
class families in India, and they're right at the top. So
Vineet sir, so when it comes to entrance exams in India, typically people start after 10th class. So what are your advice for those people who want to have graduation or post graduation from outside? When should they start?
So if you want to go after school, I believe you should start in 10th.
Okay.
Entrance test, as I said, is only one dimension. Because admission is holistic, you also need to work on your profile. So create some extracurricular interests, do some community service, get involved in some leadership activity, pick up an interest or a hobby, whether it's sport, music, dance. And you can't do that overnight. You can't do this if you decide in class 12. It's not going to be easy. So we advise students to start in grade 9, grade 10 and pace yourself. I mean, the good part is each of these things that I'm saying, Ankit, is an investment in yourself,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
For a minute, let's forget which university you go to. But anything that you do, whether in sport or in leadership,
Will
or
build you.
picking up a hobby or extra courses, is an investment in yourself. And I've seen those journeys. Students, when they start with us in grade 9 or grade 10, and by the time they're in grade, you find the amount of growth that has happened in their personality. It's outstanding. So it's a journey of personal growth. And if that can start in grade 8 9, by 8 till 8 9, I feel you should sort of discover what your interests are. And the best part here is you don't have to force yourself. If you like sport, you go do sport. If you like dance, you do dance. If you like music, you do music. You don't have to force yourself that I should do this if you don't like to do that. So whatever you like to do, you enhance that and develop some interest, broaden your profile, make it rich, and then you prepare for tests and academics, and then you sort of getting ready to. Now if you want to go after graduation, then again third year, second year, third year, fourth year are pretty much the right time, because evaluation is holistic. Then building the right kind of activities on your CV is important.
And good terms with professor.
Yeah, good relationship with, yes, you need the recommendations. Yes.
Great. And sir, so in India we have got number of education boards. We have got state boards. We have got CBSE, ICSE, international. So how does this fit in foreign education? Is there any board which is more aligned with getting foreign education in college, or it's like everything is same?
Yeah, this I want to bust a myth here. People all sometimes feel that IB and IGCSE boards increase your chances of going abroad. There's nothing like that.
Okay.
All boards are equal. Whether you study at ICSE or you study at CBSE or IB or IGCSE, it's all fine. Your endeavor has to be to do well, whichever board you are. Forget that, even state boards. We had a student who went to Harvard last year to study physics on full scholarship. He was from Tamil Nadu State Board, right? So, and multiple cases like that. So there are, it doesn't matter which board you study at. Of course, the IB and IGCSE are more attuned to the international curriculum. So once you go to a foreign university to study, you find that you are sort of, if you come from one of those two boards, you acclimatize early. But as far as admission or excellence is concerned, all boards are absolutely, there's no disadvantage of any kind.
And probably because you mentioned that they also look at your profile.
Absolutely.
So probably they will be giving more weightage to somebody come from disadvantaged background as compared to somebody coming from a very
Well, they look at merit whole.
Yes.
But
yes.
your context is important,
Yes.
as you said. Two people equal, then definitely somebody who struggled with context will
have higher weightage.
Yes.
So when it comes to discussing about fee of foreign universities, one very common parameter is scholarship. So people claim ki I got so much scholarship, so I have to pay only this much. So what is how does it roll out?
So scholarships, again, I mentioned some time back that US universities again are very liberal on scholarships, but you have scholarships everywhere. Canadian schools, UK universities, European schools, all universities give scholarships. They are of two kinds. One is merit. So the higher you are, better profile, better scores, the higher is your chance of getting a scholarship. That's the simple thumb rule, because every university in the world wants good students. Some universities then also have need based, and again especially US ones. So if you are making the admission and then your family income cannot support you, or it can support you only to some extent, then you can even get need based scholarships.
Okay.
So two kinds. And again, lots of scholarships available. Students should actually scan that network. And the universities abroad also have another, you can work while you are studying. So let's say you didn't get a scholarship, but you ended up on a campus. You can easily cover your living cost by working part-time, right? Plus, in some time, you may be able to get research assistantships, teaching assistantships, where you are assigned to work with a professor, and in lieu of that, your fee is waived off. So those kind of things also happen quite a bit.
So typically in India, if you go for MBA from a good institute, typically speaking, means anecdotal, not like any research or anything, it takes 5 to 10 years to recover your education loan. So is there any thumb rule for for let's say US MBA also or US postgraduate also, in how many years typically you can repay your
I think
education
about
loan?
5 years average.
Okay.
Some people have done it in 3 years also. Some take 7. So about 5 years you are able to pay back.
So you can
So
say
the ROI is much higher.
So you can say 3 to 7 years.
3 to 7 years.
Okay. And what are the avenues for financing foreign education? So like in India, we get loans from PSU banks, from private banks, etc., NBFCs also. So is there any limit on the maximum amount that you can avail loan? How you can avail those loans? Can you help us
So the
understand?
one big difference, Ankit, between the 90s or early 2000 to now is that foreign education loans are very, very easily available.
Okay.
But they are available in India. Don't expect that you will end up in UK or US and get a loan from a UK bank or a US bank. Whatever loans you have to take from India. But there are almost every, whether nationalized bank, private banks, HDFC has its arm, Credila or ICICI, all government banks, public sector banks, and then there are private higher education loan companies which have come up, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So loans are really, really freely available, and I strongly urge that if you, of course, don't have the finances, and most people don't, then you should take a loan and go. And 3 to 7 years is what it takes to pay back.
And so, what is the maximum amount of loan that you can avail for foreign education? Is there any limit to it?
There is no, if you are giving a collateral like some property as a mod, then there is no limit. But now even collateral free loans, Ankit, are going higher of 60, 70, 80 lakhs.
Is it?
Yes.
I was under the impression it's only 15 lakhs.
No, it's with many institutions, it's going as high as 60, 70, 80 lakhs.
And you are saying there is no way that I can get funding from the host country?
Loans.
Loans I can't get
Loans
from...
I mean, if you have a US co-signer, somebody who's willing to give a guarantee, etc., maybe yes.
Okay.
But in large part, loans will be from Indian banks, Indian institutes. There's some international higher education funding companies, as I said, Empower, etc., which have come up. There, you can take loans from them. But otherwise, loans are here. But scholarships, you're not going to get scholarships here. Scholarships are mainly going to come from universities. And there's some then government, Commonwealth, Chevening, EFL scholarship. There are lots of scholarships that students should look at.
Sir, a lot of noise nowadays because of geopolitical reasons. So what are your take on the same?
See, I watched this space for 30 years. So my reactions is in two parts. Obviously, I feel scared at times. I feel it doesn't exaggerate and it gets limited. So that's the first part. There is a general Indian-Canadian relations, or the general philosophy in countries that they want to sort of look at immigration in a not a very positive way. So these are two emerging trends. I have seen this in the last 30 years. They have happened many times. So I hope they are fleeting and they won't carry on for long. But my overarching feeling is today India has very high quality talent. Enrollment rates in Western universities are declining over the last 6, 7, 8 years now. Their populations are aging. So they can't find enough students within. Many universities are also very, very dependent on students from Asia. Especially in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math. And I have many friends who are CEOs of technology companies in the US. And they pretty much say that their companies will have a tough time if they are not able to recruit the H1 or the Indian talent that goes from here. So I feel business, technology, and reality is otherwise. So this is really going to continue to have bright students going from India and working abroad and building great careers. Geopolitics, there are going to be some positive years. There are going to be years when the sentiment seems lower. This is my hope, but one can never predict which way this goes.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming to our show and sharing so much knowledge. I am sure it will be very beneficial for a lot of us. Thank you again. Thank you, Vineet, sir.